My name is Mason Hale. I'm 25 years old, born and raised in a small steel town in Pennsylvania. By day, I stack boxes at a warehouse outside Pittsburgh. At night, I return to a tiny apartment with peeling paint and a bed that squeaks when I breathe. I never went to college. My father said there wasn't enough money, but he always found enough for my half-brother Ethan's new cars and private lessons. That's a story for later. Tonight, I stand on the icy front porch of my father's new suburban home, a home I didn't know existed until tonight, Christmas Eve. The cold cuts through my jacket, but my chest burns hotter than any fire inside. I push open the door. Warm air and the smell of honey-baked ham wrap around me like a lie. 1,000 Christmas lights blink across the vaulted living room. Fake smiles snap into place as everyone turns toward me. My father, Greg, leans by the fireplace, his bourbon glass catching the flames. My stepmother, Veronica, clutches Ethan's arm like he's a war hero just home. And Ethan, perfect Ethan, stands there in a designer sweater, smirking like he owns the world. But it's Grandpa Joe who breaks the silence. His voice cracks. "Mason, do you like the house, the one I bought for you?" My mind stops. A ringing fills my ears. My legs feel rooted to the hardwood floor. I search the room for an answer that won't come. My father's jaw tightens. Veronica's painted lips tremble into a polite smile. Ethan shifts his weight, eyes darting anywhere but mine. I swallow. This was supposed to be my house? The words slip out, almost a whisper. Greg's smirk shatters. He opens his mouth, but Grandpa Joe's cane thuds against the floor. "Answer him, Greg." Veronica edges forward, hands raised. "Joe, please. Mason wanted to be on his own. You know how independent he is." Independent. That word, the same word they used when they left me alone at school concerts. When they forgot birthdays, when they told me, "You're strong enough, Ethan needs us more." Grandpa Joe turns to me. His eyes, watery and wide, plead for truth. "Mason, where are you living now?" My voice is thin, brittle as glass. "I live in a rented apartment on Grant Avenue. I work 2 jobs to pay for it." A deathly silence sweeps over the room. Grandpa's face crumples. His shoulders sag like a man who's just lost a war. Greg stares at the bourbon, his mouth a hard line. Veronica's hands tremble against her pearls. Ethan can't even meet my eyes. Grandpa raises his voice. "I sent Greg $450,000 to buy you this house, for your future. How could you let him struggle in some dump while you live here?" Greg shifts, finally looking at me. "Mason, you never needed it. You're tough. Ethan had plans. College, internships, a future." I take a step closer. My fingers curl into fists. My heart pounds like a war drum. "Plans? My future wasn't worth the same. You decided that for me." Greg stays silent. Veronica's lip quivers. Ethan stands frozen, a porcelain doll about to crack. Grandpa's cane slams the floor again. "Enough. Mason, get your coat. We're leaving. Tonight." Veronica gasps. Ethan flinches like a child caught stealing candy. Greg's shoulders collapse, the bourbon slipping from his fingers and shattering on the floor. Outside, snow swirls under streetlights, each flake like a silent witness. I follow Grandpa to his Lincoln, my breath short and ragged. The cold bites my face, but nothing compares to the burn in my chest. I slide into the back seat. Grandpa climbs in beside me, his face pale but resolute. His hand finds mine. "We'll fix this," he whispers. "I promise." But what does fixing even look like after years of neglect? How do you repair a boy who spent every holiday waiting for a father who never came? Will Chicago really be a new beginning, or just another room without my name on the wall? As the car pulls away, the house shrinks in the rearview mirror. I see Greg's shadow in the doorway. He doesn't run after me. Doesn't yell. He just stands there, small and silent. I turn to the window. The town blurs past. Christmas wreaths, golden lights, kids laughing in snow. None of it feels real anymore. All I can think is, who am I if I'm not the forgotten son? What will I become if I finally step out of his shadow? And why does part of me still wish he would run after me, just once? I close my eyes. Chicago is waiting. A new battlefield, a new version of me, waiting to be born. As Lincoln hums beneath me, the heater blasting warm air that never quite reaches my bones. My name is Mason Hale, 25 years old, warehouse worker, ex-invisible son. Now a runaway on Christmas Eve, headed for Chicago. As the interstate lines blur past, my mind drifts backward, back to the town where my story really began. Back to the peeling white house on Willow Creek Road. I was 8 when Greg married Veronica. I still remember the white lace on her dress, her bright red lipstick, and the fake tears she wiped away as she promised to build a family together. I wanted to believe her. I wanted so badly to believe that a new mom meant new warmth, new love. But Ethan came along a year later. From the moment he wailed into the world, he was the sun we all orbited. New toys, new clothes, special dinners. I got the leftovers, the hand-me-down shirts, the birthday cakes with misspelled names, the quiet dinners alone when they forgot I existed. People in town saw a perfect family. They saw Greg coaching Ethan's Little League games, Veronica snapping photos from the stands, Ethan grinning like a golden boy under the summer sun. And me, I was in the background, sweeping up popcorn in the snack shack, waiting for a nod that never came. At school, I learned to keep my head down. I'd show them my perfect attendance, my essays with glowing feedback from teachers. Greg would grunt, "Good, but don't expect too much. College isn't for everyone." Meanwhile, Ethan got a D in math, and they threw him a pizza party to celebrate effort. It wasn't just neglect, it was active erasure. Every time Veronica whispered, "Ethan is special, you should be more like him," a part of me shrank. By high school, I stopped asking for rides to events. I stopped showing them my report cards. Stopped waiting at the window for Greg to come home and tell me he was proud. I started dreaming about college in secret. At night, I'd sketch out application essays, imagine life in a dorm, imagine making friends who didn't measure my worth by someone else's shine. I wanted to become an architect, build homes for families who actually belonged together. But that dream died quietly, like a candle snuffed in a storm. Junior year, I finally asked Greg if we could discuss college. His eyes narrowed over the dinner table. "College," he scoffed. "Do you have any idea what that costs? Ethan's education comes first. You can work. You're good with your hands. Warehouse jobs pay fine." That night, I locked myself in my attic room, tracing cracks on the ceiling. A ceiling I knew better than my own reflection. I promised myself that if they wouldn't build my future, I would. Somehow, I found work at a local grocery store first, pushing carts, stocking shelves, wiping vomit from aisle 9 after Friday nights. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't matter. Every paycheck felt like a brick in my own foundation, even if the walls around me stayed the same. Greg and Veronica never noticed when I stopped coming home for dinner. They didn't see me slip out before sunrise to catch double shifts. But Ethan noticed, only because he needed someone to blame when chores piled up or Veronica started yelling. He'd shrug, roll his eyes. "Mason, he's a ghost," he'd say. And somehow they all agreed. I got used to being the ghost. I became good at it. Invisible at holidays, birthdays, graduations, especially his. I watched from the sidelines as Ethan received a brand new Mustang for his 18th birthday. I was there when he crashed it a month later and got a newer, shinier one without so much as a scolding. I still remember the last conversation I had with Greg before leaving. I asked again about college, desperate one last time. He folded his newspaper, sipped his black coffee. "Some people are meant to build. Some are meant to be built for. Accept who you are, Mason." That sentence broke something in me. The warehouse job became my refuge after that. I learned to move heavy crates, handle rough coworkers, and keep my head down. I took pride in small things, organizing pallets faster than anyone else, helping an elderly customer lift a bag of dog food. Little victories no one at home ever saw. I saved enough to rent a one-room apartment near the train tracks. It shook every time a freight train barreled through at night. But it was mine, my window, my creaky floor, my own toothbrush that no one borrowed or moved. Sometimes I'd catch myself imagining Greg knocking on my door, telling me he'd changed his mind, that he finally saw me, but he never did. Veronica never came by. Ethan was too busy showing off his latest car online, flashing Dad's money. Still, a small part of me, the child version, clung to the idea of family. Every holiday season, I waited. I'd buy a cheap pie, set an extra chair at my tiny fold-out table. They never showed. I stopped after the 3rd year, stopped leaving the light on, stopped pretending. But even ghosts carry hope sometimes. So when that invitation came, Christmas Eve dinner at the new house, I thought, maybe, just maybe, things were different now. Maybe they saw me, finally. I bought a bottle of wine I couldn't afford, wrapped a small gift for Grandpa Joe embroidered with his initials, practiced what I'd say in the mirror, "Merry Christmas, Dad," Thank you for inviting me." The words felt foreign, like wearing someone else's shoes. I drove to that new house with my heart pounding in my throat. As I pulled up to the sparkling driveway lined with fresh wreaths and spotlights, a question gnawed at me. Why now? Why invite the ghost back into the frame? And as I stepped through that front door and saw Grandpa Joe's face, I finally understood. I wasn't there to be welcomed home. I was a prop, a piece in their perfect holiday puzzle, a lie dressed in cheap cologne and warehouse calluses. Now, as the highway lights stretch toward Chicago, that realization slices deeper than any warehouse box cutter. What kind of family uses you as a decoy? What kind of father forgets your dreams and steals your future? Can you really forgive betrayal when it's been happening your entire life? Or is leaving the only mercy left? Grandpa Joe squeezes my shoulder, his old hand rough but steady, a silent vow that maybe, just maybe, I'm not invisible anymore. Starts to rise as we cross into Illinois. A soft orange glow crawls across the snowy fields, but inside the Lincoln, the air is thick and heavy. I keep replaying Grandpa Joe's words in my head. We'll fix this. You deserve better. But what does better even mean when you've lived your whole life as an afterthought? We reach Chicago just after dawn. Steel towers scrape the sky, streets hum with early traffic, and the smell of coffee and exhaust dances in the air. It feels like stepping onto another planet. I've never been here before. I've never been anywhere, really. Grandpa's driver pulls into a gated neighborhood lined with ancient oaks. Snow clings to the branches like fragile lace. At the end of the driveway stands a massive brownstone mansion with wide steps and a dark wooden door. A house so big it looks like it could swallow my entire past in one gulp. I hesitate at the door. My hand hovers over the brass handle, shaking. I hear Grandpa behind me. "Mason," he says, voice low. "This is your home now." I step inside. Warmth, real warmth, wraps around me. A foyer with marble floors, walls lined with oil paintings, a chandelier that looks like a star frozen mid-explosion. Every detail screams permanence, something I've never known. Grandpa leads me upstairs to a room bigger than my entire apartment. A king-size bed, a polished oak desk, windows looking over a snow-covered garden. On the desk sits a brand new laptop, still in plastic. A wardrobe stocked with clothes that fit. I trace my fingers across the fabric, breathing in that new smell. Freedom, maybe. I sit on the bed. It doesn't creak. It doesn't lean to one side. It feels sturdy, like a promise. Grandpa sits next to me, leaning on his cane. His face is tired but alive with a fire I've never seen. "I didn't see what was happening," he says. "I thought Greg. I thought he was raising you right. I sent money every year for your education, for your clothes, for your future. I thought I was helping." I don't know how to answer. I want to scream, to blame him for not watching closer. But I see his eyes, wet, heavy with regret, and the anger softens just a little. He pulls a thin envelope from his jacket. "This was meant for you," he says, handing it to me. Inside a check. Enough money to start over, to go to college, to finally build something of my own. My fingers tremble. All the hours in the warehouse, all the missed meals, all the nights alone. They roar back in my ears like a freight train. I think of every time I begged Greg to believe in me, every time he called me the tough one to excuse leaving me behind. Why didn't he just tell me the truth? I ask, my voice cracking. Grandpa looks down at his hands. Pride, greed. Maybe he thought he was protecting Ethan's future, but he destroyed yours in the process. I stand, pacing the room. My chest feels like it might cave in. He took everything, Grandpa. My chance at school, my chance at feeling like a son, my whole damn life. Grandpa stands slowly, using his cane to steady himself. He grips my shoulder firm. You can take it back now, Mason. You can build something they can never touch. You don't have to be their ghost anymore. That word. Ghost. The invisible boy standing in empty doorways, the extra chair at Christmas, the silent background in family photos. I feel a surge of heat in my veins, stronger than anger. A quiet, steady resolve. I think about the kids at the warehouse. The ones who quit after 2 days because it was too hard, who mocked me for taking double shifts. I think about every night I stared at the ceiling, convincing myself I didn't need anyone. All of it, now, pushing me forward. Grandpa steps back, eyes glinting. I own a construction firm here. You don't have to jump in tomorrow, but when you're ready, the door's open. Learn, build, or go to school, or both, you choose. Not Greg, not me, you. That last word hits like a hammer. You. It echoes in my chest, ringing louder than any insult Greg ever spat. I stare out the window. Below, gardeners in thick coats shovel snow from the walkway. A dog chases its tail in a neighbor's yard. Chicago is alive, even in the cold, and for the first time, I want to join it. But beneath that spark, questions coil like snakes. Will I ever feel like I belong here? Am I strong enough to become someone more than a ghost? Do I even deserve this? Grandpa interrupts my thoughts. You look just like your mother, he says, voice trembling. She believed in second chances. She would have been proud of you. I turn away, fighting tears. I never knew her, except for the stories Grandpa told. A bright laugh, a mind sharper than any blade. She wanted to be an architect too before life broke her plans. I take a shaky breath. Maybe I can finish what she started. Maybe that's how I find myself again. I turn back to Grandpa. Okay, I whisper. I'll stay. I'll try. A slow smile spreads across his face. Good. That's all I ever wanted. We head downstairs for breakfast. The smell of fresh coffee, sizzling bacon, and toasted bread fills the air. Nothing fancy, but it feels real. Grandpa talks about the company, old construction stories, his early struggles. I listen, really listen, for the first time in years. Between bites, he slides a college brochure across the table. Penn State has a great architecture program, he says casually. I run my thumb across the cover, the pictures of students in hard hats and rolled blueprints. Something tightens in my chest, a mix of fear and longing. I look up at Grandpa. His eyes meet mine, unwavering. Don't let them define you anymore, he says. They took enough. It's time to take your life back. A question lingers in my mind. What would Greg think if he saw me here, planning a future he swore I'd never have? Would he even care? Or would he finally understand what he lost when he chose Ethan's comfort over my dreams? I push the thought away, focusing on the smell of warm coffee, the sound of Grandpa humming an old tune, the sunlight spilling across the table. A life waiting for me, one careful step at a time. And maybe, just maybe, the ghost is starting to disappear. The first days in Chicago move like a silent movie. I float through Grandpa's big house, each room echoing with possibilities I've never dared to imagine. Every morning I wake before dawn, half expecting to hear Greg's voice telling me to get moving, to earn my keep, but it never comes. Instead, I hear Grandpa downstairs, humming Sinatra, the smell of fresh coffee, drifting up the stairs like a gentle invitation. For the first time, no one is watching to judge how fast I eat, how many eggs I take, or whether I dare to smile. I spend mornings walking through the city, bundled in a coat Grandpa bought me on our first shopping trip. Michigan Avenue, with its towering glass stores and Riverwalk, feels like stepping into a new life every block. I watch people hurrying to work, students laughing under streetlights, tourists posing in front of skyscrapers. Here I'm not the invisible sun. Here, I'm nobody. And somehow, that feels like freedom. In the afternoons, I visit Grandpa's construction firm downtown. The office is alive with blueprints pinned to walls, engineers debating design flaws, and foremen calling in from job sites. The first day I step inside, I feel every eye on me. Some see the boss's grandson, assuming I'm just another entitled kid sliding into a cushy job. Others squint, waiting for me to fail. But I don't want handouts. I start small. Sweeping floors, organizing supply closets, checking inventory. Some days my back screams in protest, my hands blister under rough gloves. But each ache reminds me I'm finally building something real. One afternoon, while carrying a stack of insulation reports, I hear two foremen whispering in the hallway. He won't last a week, one says. Kid like that, soft as a marshmallow. They don't know I spent years lifting crates alone at 4 a.m. or fixing leaks in my freezing apartment with duct tape. They don't know how many times I swallowed anger, how many nights I slept on an attic mattress so thin I felt every wooden plank below. I keep my head down. But inside, every whispered doubt sharpens me. Each snide comment becomes a brick in a wall I'm building, not to hide behind, but to stand on. Grandpa notices. At dinner one night, he smiles over his soup. You're proving them wrong, Mason. Every day. I just nod, but inside, something begins to glow. As days blur into weeks, Grandpa and I start talking more about Mom, about his early days laying bricks with frostbitten fingers, about regret and forgiveness. One night, after a late shift at the firm, I find Grandpa sitting in the den, an old photo album on his lap. He pats the seat next to him. I sit, He flips to a page. My mother at 20, beaming in front of a campus building, blueprints rolled under her arm. She wanted to change the world, Mason, he says. And so do you. You just don't know it yet. I study her face, the same stubborn chin, the same tired eyes I see in the mirror. A lump forms in my throat. She would have wanted this for you, Grandpa whispers. Not the lies, not the attic, not the endless working nights and lonely meals, but this possibility. I think back to that Christmas Eve, the heavy bourbon glass in Greg's hand, the way Veronica's voice cracked under the weight of her own performance, the flicker of guilt in Ethan's eyes. A part of me wonders, do they miss me? Do they regret trading my future for Ethan's comfort, or do they sit around that big table, filling my empty chair with excuses and silence? These questions haunt me, crawl into my dreams at night. Some nights I jolt awake in sweat, seeing Greg standing over me, telling me I'll never be enough. I wake to find Grandpa's house calm, the world outside blanketed in snow. I breathe. I remind myself that life is over. But life doesn't let you leave the past that easily. 2 months into my new routine, an envelope arrives at the firm. The receptionist hands it to me, eyes wide with curiosity. I recognize the handwriting before I even open it. Greg's jagged scrawl. Inside, Mason, I know I don't deserve your time. I know I failed you. We're losing everything. Ethan dropped out of college. Veronica left. I'm alone. I was wrong about you. I need help. I need my son back, Greg. My fingers tighten around the letter until the paper nearly tears. 1,000 thoughts crash into me at once. The attic, the silent dinners, the dreams he crushed under his boot. Now he wants help. I hear Grandpa behind me, his footsteps slow but steady. He takes one look at my face, then at the letter. A heavy sigh escapes him. It was only a matter of time, the subtlety says. I stare at the words again. Need. Son. Help. All those years he only saw me as a utility. Someone to carry boxes, patch holes, disappear into the attic when guests came over. Now that Ethan's gone and Veronica's vanished, I'm suddenly visible. I ask myself, is forgiveness strength or weakness? Would helping him mean I'm better than him, or just the same fool he always thought I was? Can you rebuild a bridge that was never there? I hand Grandpa the letter. He reads it quietly, then looks at me. Mason, he says, voice soft, this is your choice. No one can make it for you. I stand there for a long time, the city lights twinkling outside like distant stars. In that silence I realize something. I don't owe Greg a thing. Not my time, not my sweat, not my forgiveness. I look Grandpa in the eye. I'm done, I say. His eyes fill with relief and something like pride. Good, he says. Now, live your life. That night, I lie in my bed. A bed that doesn't creak, in a room that smells like new paint instead of mildew. I feel a strange lightness. Not joy exactly, but release. I think about Mom, the campus buildings she loved, the blueprints she left behind. I think about the boy I was, waiting for a father who never came. And I think about tomorrow. Classes at Penn State start soon. A new chapter, a new foundation. But before I drift off, one last question flickers through my mind. If Greg showed up at my door tomorrow, broken and begging, would I have the strength to shut it? I don't know yet. But for the first time, I want to find out, on my own terms. Snow hisses against the Chicago windows like 1,000 whispered secrets. I wake before the alarm, the sky still a deep, endless blue. My breath hangs above me, heavy and alive, like I finally am. Today is the first day of classes at Penn State's Chicago Extension. Architecture, my mother's dream, my new blueprint. I slip into new jeans, a warm sweater, clothes that fit, clothes that don't smell like warehouse dust or mildew from a cramped attic. I look at myself in the mirror, the same sharp jawline as Greg. But the eyes, they're not his anymore. They're mine now. On the train ride to campus, I watch the city blur past. People tapping on laptops, reading textbooks, laughing over coffee. No one sees me as the ghost son, the background brother. Here, I'm just another face chasing something better. When I step into the architecture building, the scent of fresh-cut wood and ink on blueprints hits me, a smell I've only ever imagined. Students huddle over drafting tables, sketches pinned to walls, models bouncing on thin wires. My pulse thunders. I belong here. I claim a table near the back, unpack my pencils, my fresh notebooks. The professor walks in, a tall woman with silver hair pulled into a bun, eyes sharp as nails. She starts talking about structures, lines, the way buildings breathe with the people inside. Every word feels like a key unlocking a door I thought was welded shut forever. I remember Greg's words echoing like a curse. Some people are meant to build. Some are meant to be built for. But he was wrong. We are all meant to build. The question is whether we have the courage to start. During lunch, I meet Sam, a first-year student from Michigan, and Elena, an artist who dreams of merging architecture and sculpture. They don't ask where I came from. They don't care what kind of attic I slept in. We talk about design, about childhood treehouses, about the best pizza in Chicago. For once, I laugh without checking who's watching. After class, I head to Grandpa's office. I find him by the window, squinting at the snow falling over Lake Michigan. He turns when he hears my footsteps. His face softens. "How was it?" he asks. I can't stop the grin splitting my face. "It was everything," I say. I show him my rough sketches from class, my messy notes, a tiny clay model I made during a workshop. He studies each piece like it's precious, like I'm precious. "You know," he says, tapping the model gently, "your mom would have loved this. You've got her spirit, her stubbornness too." My throat tightens, but I nod. "I hope so." He gestures for me to sit. "I've been thinking," he says slowly. "I want you to lead a small project this summer. Nothing massive. A garden pavilion in one of the city parks. You'll work with the team. Eat it, design from scratch, see it rise." I feel the air leave my lungs. A project, my design, my mark on the city. I nod, trying to swallow the disbelief. "Okay," I whisper. But inside every part of me shouts, "Yes, yes, finally." The weeks roll by in a rhythm I've never known. Morning classes, afternoon site visits, evenings drafting ideas with Grandpa's architects, tweaking lines under harsh desk lamps. At night, I walk by the lake, my mind buzzing with angles and materials and light. Each step forward is a small rebellion against Greg's lies. Each pencil stroke, each blueprint, each late-night coffee is proof I'm not the ghost he tried to make me. I hear from Greg only once more. A voicemail I don't answer. His voice cracks as if he's aged 50 years in a month. "I'm sorry," he croaks. "I don't know who I am without all of it." I delete it. No hesitation, no more waiting for a father who never came. As spring breathes life into the city, the garden pavilion project begins. I stand on site in a neon vest, the morning sun catching the glass panels we designed. Steel beams stretch into the sky like arms finally free. Volunteers plant native grasses around the foundation. Children chase each other between pallets of stone. An older woman passing by stops to watch. She turns to me, smiling. "Beautiful work," she says. "Feels alive." I watch the structure, my structure, catch the wind and sunlight. And for the first time in my life, I feel complete. Not because I proved Greg wrong, not because I escaped the attic or the cheap dinners, but because I found the boy I left behind. The boy sketching in the dark. The boy who dared to want more. Later that evening, Grandpa and I sit under the almost finished pavilion. He cracks open 2 root beers, passes me one. "To new beginnings," he says. We clink bottles. The park hums with life. Kids, dogs, a busker playing guitar nearby. I look around, then at Grandpa. "Thank you," I say, "for everything." He shakes his head. "No," he says, pointing at my chest. "You did this. You. All I did was open the door." I lean back, watch the city lights blink on in the distance. For so long, I thought freedom meant being alone. But it's not. It's choosing who deserves a seat at your table. Choosing who gets to know your heart. As the stars sharpen above us, a thought rises, quiet and sure. I'm no one's ghost now. I'm the architect of my own life. And from here on out, I build my own story, brick by brick. Have you ever felt like a ghost in your own home? If you have, maybe you understand this better than anyone. And if you're thinking of someone right now, someone who deserves a second chance at life, maybe share this story with them, because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's rising so high that your past can't even reach you.